Signore e signori, buonasera. Buonasera. Benvenuti, welcome to New York University. Grazie, grazie, grazie. Benvenuti alla Casa Italiana Zerilli-Marimò della New York University. It's a great pleasure to be back with Open Roads. This is the 25th edition of Open Roads, yes. So it's the silver anniversary of Italian cinema in New York at Lincoln Center. We are very pleased with what is going on. All the screenings are almost sold out, but there are a few more tickets if you're interested. The main purpose of this evening is to spark your attention and your interest for the films that are right now showing at Lincoln Center. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart Cinecittà, in particular Griselda Guerrasio, Monique Catalini, and all their collaborators, because they're the ones that really put the work and the intelligence and the choices to bring these films here and take care of every detail in New York, of course, with the help that is fundamental of Sally Fisher and her team, that we thank for her presence, for her attention, and for her affection. So it's a great occasion for us to be back here, and of course, being the 25th edition, it's also an occasion to celebrate the great accomplishments of Open Roads. You will see also from the directors that we have here tonight that for some of them is the second time. So the first time it brought them good luck and the possibility to come back. So right now we're going to take a look at the trailers of the films that we are discussing tonight. They're not all the films that are at Lincoln Center. We are only talking about the films that have a director present here with us tonight. So if you're interested in the full program, please take a look at the website of the Film Society at Lincoln Center, Open Roads, and you'll find the full schedule with all the films. While we are in a moment of announcements, I just want to remind you, since I assume that all of you here love Italian cinema, that after Open Roads, there is another event dedicated to Italian cinema, and in particular to Italian cinema and history. And it's going to begin on June 4th, right, Sally? Yes. And it's a fantastic array of films, classical films about Italian history. So it's also an occasion to review Italian history in a fun way through the movies. So mark your calendar, take a look, and start booking your tickets. We're going to take a look at the trailers, and then I'm going to call to the stage our guest for tonight. Enjoy the trailers, and I'll be back in a second. And now I'm going to call our friends, our guests, and I'm asking them to sit in the order in which I call them, starting there, so we will recognize them more easily. So for Agnus Dei, Massimiliano Camaiti, director, and Giovanna Nicolai, producer. For Il rapimento di Arabella, Carolina Cavalli, director. For Gli occhi degli altri, Andrea De Sica, director. For La Gioia, Nicolangelo Gerolmini, regista, director. For Il Maestro, my tennis coach, Andrea Di Stefano, director. For Il quieto, vivere, I Want Her Dead, Gianluca Matarrese, director. And for Elisa, the absolute protagonist, Barbara Ronchi. Please welcome her. And with me to moderate the roundtable, there is going to be Leonardo Campaner. Please welcome him too. Leonardo is a Ph.D. candidate here in the Department of Italian Studies. He's an expert of Italian cinema of colonialism, so a bit further back than what we saw here, but he has done a great job in the past 2 years. That's why we hired him again to help me out. Leo, siedi. So we start with Agnus Dei. The first trailer we saw, and it's we have here Massimiliano, who is the director, and Giovanna Nicolai, the producer. Massimiliano has already made several films, including feature films, series, and this is a feature-length documentary about a very interesting topic, an interesting subject. Agnus Dei. So it's a documentary, definitely.
It's a documentary about this like unique, I would say, Catholic tradition that is going on in Rome like for more than 1,000 years, and it's taking place each year, where 2 lambs are taken from their mother and given to a nun in this monastery after to be blessed. And after 5 months, it's not a spoiler because it's going on for a long time, with a rule they're going to do a sort of scarf for the Pope.
And the archbishops to whom the Pope donates it. It's a piece of vestments, of sacred vestments.
Yes, it's a
but what you do with your documentary is actually you create a narrative that until the very end we don't know why these lambs are there, why they're so important.
Now we know.
Why these nuns treat them
but you can go tomorrow to see it.
Why these nuns treat them like babies and with all attention and affection, feed them with the baby bottle. So you create a story, basically. As you said, there is no spoiler because the thing has been going on for quite a long time. It's kind of exoteric. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the story of the cloistered nuns in Rome that raised the 2 lambs that will produce the wool to make these sacred vestments. But the fact that you create a sort of narrative by not revealing from the beginning what the lambs are for. So there is on one hand, in your film, the creation of this narrative, and on the other hand, the intent on your part, I believe, of being an external observer, not being taken by the sort of sacred element of this thing, and to keep your distance. But my question is, was it difficult because you basically lived there for these months? You were there almost every day.
I spent like we did, because with the producer too, 6 months of research, and after in 5 months we have like 25 days of shooting. And but it was like the choice, not to take a distance, to maintain a distance, to let the audience make his own idea about what it's seeing. It's like a crazy story, a normal story, a fantastic story, and then yes, it's an external point of view.
And maybe a question for Joanna: was it difficult to gain access? I mean, these communities are very guarded. These nuns don't have contact with the rest of the world. No man in particular can enter the convent. How did you manage to get their permission?
Well, I started out like everyone would do, searching online for contact details from the Vatican, and then talking to several people. I ended up with a Monsignor that I actually remembered I knew personally. I called him, and I was so lucky that he granted me access to the monastery.
So it was through you or through Massimiliano?
Through her.
It took a woman to get access.
Exactly. And I was always with them, of course. And yeah, we were very privileged and honored to be there inside a cloistered monastery for such a long time, to live together with these nuns and have access to their daily lives, which is incredible.
And
so
then
we were very
the
lucky.
Thank you. And then there is the imprevisto, the unforeseen, that all of a sudden the daily life of these nuns, that is exactly the same, and it has been the same for thousands of years, is interrupted by this piece of news. They can listen to the news on the radio only from the Vatican radio, and it's the news of the death of Pope Francis. So all of a sudden your film is interrupted in the daily routine by these news. So how did you relate to that? You could have decided not to include it, but you let it happen in real time, basically, what it seems like real time. Did it force you to change something in your idea of the...
But for sure, when you're shooting like a documentary, you're imagining like the ways your documentary can take, and you try to follow what real life is given to you. About the Pope, I don't want to say we were lucky, but because
that wouldn't sound good, especially with the nuns.
Then
if you intend to go visit them again.
They were making a scarf for the Pope, and the Pope is dying during the process. Then just film.
Yes, no, we could not avoid it. We had to include it into the story, into the film. It was happening in front of our eyes. We could not ignore it, basically.
It's like how daily life and the life of the world enters into the monastery, and it interrupts in some way the daily routine and the things that they do.
It does,
every year.
yes, it does, but briefly. It just slows down.
Exactly, and then things go back to the rhythm. I think you not only did a beautiful documentary, it's a piece of poetry, because ultimately there is a representation of the reality and the daily life of these nuns, but I assure you it's pure poetry, and especially in some moments, the poetic element, I think, prevails even on the sacred, and I think you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you to you.
Leo, your turn.
Well, good evening, everyone. So next up, we have the kidnapping of Arabella, il rapimento di Arabella. Carolina Cavalli, welcome.
Ciao, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
I'm just going to say a couple words about Carolina. She's a writer-director from Milan, and their debut feature, Amanda, premiered at the 79th Venice Film Festival in 2022. And internationally at the Toronto Film Festival, and was nominated for a David Donatello for Best Directorial Debut. Cavalli also co-wrote the film Fremont with the Iranian film director Babak Jalali, which premiered at the Sundance Film Festival and won the John Cassavetes Award at the Independent Spirit Awards. Il Rapimento di Arabella is her second feature, and it premiered last year in the Orizzonti section of the 82nd Venice Film Festival, where he won the Orizzonti Award for Best Actress for Benedetta Porcaroli. So, again, first question is the same. Could you tell us a little bit about the story and also kind of how it came to you? Your pitch to the audience.
Oh dear. Okay. I mean, I'm not sure it's a pitch, but yeah, it's. I started from the characters as I always do. So I put something that I feel so urgent on me on the character. In this case, Benedetta Porcaroli and Holly. And so let's say it's about not feeling the pressure anymore of being somewhere else or someone else or a better version of yourself. To be like, to accept who you are and not looking always at other people or feeling that life is somewhere else. And in this moment in particular, I feel this pressure very much in the part of the world I live in, the western part of the world, of buying things so our life gets bigger, or consume this so our life is better. So it was a way much more intimate and personal, I would say, to explore this. And then the story is, it's a bit of an absurd word, like this word, to be honest, but it's maybe less, exactly. But it's a story of friendship between two women of two different generations. Yeah, that's it.
Great. I was going to ask if, since you said it started as a character study and started with the character, so the idea of the kidnapping, in a sense, arose from the character itself as you were writing the character, I assume, or did it come to you in a kind of parallel way, and then you joined the two, in a sense?
Well, it's not really a kidnapping, but even people think it's a kidnapping, but the older person is totally unaware of what's happening, and the little kids knows exactly what's happening. She wants to run away, but she's 6, so she doesn't have a car. And then she sees this woman with a car, so she feed her with what she wants to hear, the possibility to go back in time and just take the opportunity that she missed. And so it's technically not really a kidnapping.
Of course.
But yeah.
I guess that's, if you watch the film, you'll see what it really is. Well, I was going to ask you more. You mentioned a little bit about the tone of the film. It is a very peculiar tone, sort of suspended between drama and comedy, melancholy and surrealism, perhaps absurdism. How did you go about achieving it? And also, did you discover it as you made the film, or would you say it's a bit of a stylistic marker of your film, of your cinema?
No, I don't know. It's a bit of a preference, I think. Like, I don't have lambs, but I have goats in my like, I don't know. It's some choices. I even think they're not gonna make the final cut, but then they always do. But for me, they always help to create a world that is very, it's an exaggeration of our world, the absurdity of our world. I think absurdity is a very good tone for nowadays, for describing. But you take away the tragedy, because here it's hard to laugh about the absurdity. In a film that is a kind of a comedy, you can do it. And so I think it's a preference, and yeah, I start from there, I would say. Yeah.
Great, yeah. Well, in terms of how it kind of addresses, I guess, the absurd moment that we're living and the zeitgeist, I was wondering in particular, you have a character who is also like somebody who studied physics, who's very intelligent and but yet somewhat very unstable. So in many ways, did you also conceive this as a kind of commentary on a certain younger generations who are feeling perhaps disenfranchised or particularly lost during the moment that we're living? I would say.
I mean, I don't know if she's particularly intelligent, the main character. She's like, but she's not like, yeah, I feel it's just, yeah, normal, I would say.
She studies physics, right?
Studies physics,
so we assume that she's...
I don't know if it's always the case, but yeah. But yeah, no, of course, she has, then everyone is different. I don't know if it's a generation. For sure, I feel the isolation or the fact that it's hard to find your place in the world, or it's hard to find relationships that are meaningful or relationships that are human at all. It's something I think we're going through, and I don't know, this is also the only generation I lived in, so I'm not sure if in the past was same or different, but that's and also her condition, you know, she had some trauma and she has a condition. It's not really a commentary because I don't have the tools, but apart from, I start from personal experience, familiar history, or like whatever, and I think it's the best way to talk about a certain way of being or conditions, or, you know, without really talking about it. It's just one of the aspects of the character, let's say.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank
on
you
the
so
film again.
much. Grazie. Grazie. Guys, can I say that the film is coming out on the 17th of July? The film is coming out at IFC. If you guys want to come, I don't have many friends, so you're my Italian friends. Thank you so much.
Congratulations also for that. So it already has an American distributor.
See, it's called Oscilloscope.
Grande.
They're in Brooklyn. They were the Beastie Boys, I think.
They're very cool. They're very cool.
IFC,
Very
perfect.
yeah.
It's 2 blocks from here.
Perfect.
And our next guest is Andrea De Sica. Andrea studied at the Centro Sperimentale di Cinematografia, then worked with directors such as Bernardo Bertolucci and Ospetec. It's the second coming of Andrea to Open Roads.
Third actually. Third. I came here 15 years ago with a short film. Yeah. And we also spoke here. My first feature was 9 years ago. Yeah,
Children of the Night.
Yeah, Children of the Night.
And he's also famous, we understood from our students here in the United States for his series Baby, that apparently, from what we heard from colleagues, it's a reason for many of our students to learn Italian, because they want to. So thank you for what you're doing for the promotion of the Italian language, Andrea. And Andrea also happens to be the grandson of Vittorio De Sica, and to talk about the retrospective that is going on at Lincoln Center, 2 films of his grandfather are going to be there, La Ciociara, 2 Women, and The Garden of the Finzi Contini. So if you have not seen them...
Yeah, and I really care about the Finzi Contini's garden because it's a brand new restoration, and my father did the soundtrack when he was 23 years old, and I consider it his masterpiece, and he was Oscar nominated for that film, and so go see it.
Andrea, tell us something about the film, and then I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
people to go see
after
it.
Carolina Cavalli is so brilliant and so fluently English speaking, I will be very short. The film is based from a real story that happened in Rome. It was a real murder. These 2 marquises, very jet set, high profile, like people from Milan but living sometimes in Rome, were found dead with a young guy in the studio of the marquis. And when everybody came in, they stolen these books of pictures. And the pictures were portraying the wife, the marquise, I don't know how to say in female version, Marchioness, who was nude and having sex with strangers, like many of them, hundreds of them. And so this kind of backstory of this very famous couple in Italy shocked the entire Catholical, moralistic, like idea of woman of the time. And actually, I haven't read this story. I was just sailing in the Pontinians Islands, which are close from Rome. And when I was in front of this island, Zannone, a friend of mine started telling me the story, and there was this abandoned villa up in the, how to say, in the sun. And so I got this idea to make this kind of the picture, a nightmare under the sun of noon. That was the idea. And so I started rewriting the story all in this island and try to make this story without any moralism, I hope, about 10 years of a relationship where power and sex combine together and when the tragedy of lose control of it. Yeah.
Thank you, there. And one of the things that you do in your film, it's a film about cronaca nera. It's a very bloody fact that sort of shocked Italy. Delitto, casati, stampa, for years and years people talked about. They were very visible, very present, high society, and this fact happened. And then the discovery of what was behind it, voyeurism, exhibitionism, all sort of other sexual practices that were more or less accepted at the time.
Many movies were affected at the time, like Indagine su un cittadino al di sopra di un sospetto by Elio Petri. Basically, is him picturing her before killing her. And so that the idea, the very first idea came from that fact, which was 2 years before. Yeah, so many Italian films were affected by it.
But you sort of mark a distance between your film and these other films, or other films about crime, with your directorial choices, and especially I found the photography and the coloring choice very peculiar. Some critics have said that it's reminiscent of the early James Bond movies, the aesthetic. The colors, the costumes, the kind of photography that you have of these island and the boats that arrive. So that sort of creates a distance between La Cronaca Nera, a fact ripped out of headlines of newspapers, and the way of telling the story in a completely different way.
Yeah, the idea was to get the postcard from Italy that is the one that everybody knows, even abroad, even in the US. It's what we desire most from Italy, no? And try to get the backstage, what's behind it, what is hidden in that postcard. And so the images are like this kind of, very enjoyable, but there's some pain inside that make this contrast, and I think that was a kind of interesting research as a director to make this kind of film.
And Andrea, you mentioned the fact that the marquee in your film has a 8mm camera.
You know, in English you say he shoots. He shoots because he films, and he shoots because he hunts.
Yes.
And so the two things go together in the movie.
And then the rifles come back, of course, in the conclusion of the story.
Yeah.
But in the real story, the Marquis Casati Stampa actually had a camera, a regular camera, and he took still pictures.
Photographs.
So, giving to your Marquis a camera that makes films, somehow you make us see the reality through the eyes of the camera.
Yeah, you know, actually I filmed what the Marquis filmed because Filippo Timmi has some blindness condition, so he couldn't film them. And so it's me, actually him. And there is, so the very first thing we shot of the film was those kind of private porn films that we're used to do, and was really interesting to relate with Jasmine Trinca, who was in front of the camera directly to me. So my eyes were gli occhi degli altri. And so that was really...
The fact that you did this adds yet another layer to this, to the
yeah, because, you know,
story.
it's a film about desire, and, you know, we've seen Peeping Tom by Michael Powell, which for me is one of the masterpieces, no? And it's a film about filmmaking. Me as a filmmaker, you start thinking you have the control of what you're doing, and some way the film start devastating yourself and goes its own way.
And also
so
because
this is,
it's through your eyes, we the spectators become the voyeur.
Yeah.
Witnessing in
Gli occhi degli altri is your eyes,
eyes,
watching in the comfort, in the darkness of the theater, and feeling safe watching to everybody's secrets.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Grazie.
Thank you.
Next up, we have La Gioia by Nicolangelo Gerolmini. Please. Nicolangelo is a writer-director and former architect, I believe. His debut feature, Fortuna, also starring Valeria Golino, premiered at the 15th Festa del Cinema di Roma in 2020. He has directed several documentaries, including Lucio Amelio, which premiered at the Festival del Cinema di Roma in 2023 and won a special Nastro d'Argento. And also in television, where he collaborated again with Valeria Golino on the acclaimed TV series L'arte della gioia, adapted from the novel by Goliarda Sapienza. La Gioia is his second narrative feature, and it premiered last year in the Giornate degli Autori section of the 82nd Venice Film Festival. So, first question again, could you please tell us a little bit about the story of the film and the origin of the idea? And we understand it was adapted from a play that was itself also taken from a news story, a fatto di cronaca.
Yes.
So,
Hi everybody, but you say cronaca nera in English is cronaca nera, is the same word.
no, there's
How
no
you
such
say?
a thing. News story, I would...
True crime,
True crime,
actually.
I guess, yeah.
Okay, this story is inspired, tell me.
True crime, yeah. It's the first addiction of the Americans on television.
Okay. La Gioia is inspired. Shut up.
Pure qua.
This story is inspired by a real story. It's a story of a very gentle French teacher in the north of Italy that was never had never a love relationship with a guy or with a man, and she already lives with her parents like she was a baby. And it happens that one day she felt viewed by a student of her school. And the name of this student is Alessio, and he's a beautiful guy, like an angel. But this guy is a whore, an escort. It's someone that uses beauty to make money, but she doesn't know. And she felt loved for the first time, at the point that she gives to this guy all her money to go away and to, you know, to make a new life together. If you want to know how the story goes and finish, you had to go and see into the theater. But it's a real story. And to me it was very important because I think that it's a movie that can investigate the sentimental diseducation that everybody lives all over the world. When we need that someone love us and we want to love someone, and there is this big mistake that love is different than other form of manipulation or abuse. And if we don't know what love is, we can't know what love is not. And I think that this movie wants to put this kind of question into the audience. That's the movie, and the name is La Gioia. Thank you.
I do have a couple more questions, but you already spoke very eloquently
Okay,
about
thank you so much.
But I was going to ask, because the protagonist's name is Gioia, and the film is titled La Gioia. Obviously, there's a little bit of a play on words between the title and kind of the main theme. And I've seen in other interviews of yours where you spoke about joy, as kind of a bit of a mystical theme that you are kind of exploring. And so I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about, like, what in particular are you see it, and what kind of emotions within this you already mentioned, like love and manipulation, for instance. Do you wanted to delve into? Yeah.
Gioia in Italy means joy, okay, and it's also the name of the main character, Gioia, and it's used in this movie in an ironic way, because in this movie there's nothing about joy, but there's more about the wants to keep that kind of feeling. Because this very invisible lady, Gioia, felt for the first time this feeling of joy, but in a very, in just a second she felt that. But she wants to catch it for all the rest of her life. And this desire of joy gives her fearless to go on and to live for the first time her life. And I love this kind of, force when you want to go straight, but straight for her is a tragic way. And I love this too, probably, because I'm not different like Gioia in my life.
Great. One last question that I have is something that I was particularly interested in is, I mentioned that you were an architect, you worked many years as an architect. I did see there's
an archistar.
An archistar.
Yes.
That's right. You have a sense of space that you use cinematically, I guess, and I was wondering how you approach space as a way to convey sort of the inner life of your characters. There's two sequences in the film, and I don't want to give anything away, but there's one on like a racing with like a race.
Lingotto.
Lingotto in
Yes.
Lingotto, yeah, and there's a few others as well that you'll see if you watch the film. So yeah, I think space is very central to your visual style, and I would say your general directorial style. So I was wondering if how you used it. Yeah.
I think that for me, space, and even architecture are important to me just to understand better the character of the movie. Because when I know where they live, when I know where they stay, when I can see the character through the space and through the light and through the buildings, I can give to the architecture a narrative information. And it's like to treat the architecture like another character inside the movie, even inside La Gioia. And it's a way to describe character and people through object, through a wall, through a window, through the way that light came into our life. If this light can recognize our face or not, if this light is here and I can't see your face in a very clear way. So it's also a way to put the audience in the same tone of the feeling of the character. I think so. I'm not quite sure how I use architecture, but maybe in this way.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next guest is Andrea Di Stefano, and the film he's presenting is Il Maestro. I believe it's my tennis teacher, my tennis coach in English.
Yeah, it's my tennis teacher.
And Andrea starts his career in cinema as an actor. He studied here at the Actors Studio in New York.
Yeah.
And then you went on acting with the likes of Bellocchio, Dario Argento, Ospite, and Ang Lee, who was a professor here at NYU. And then you have 3-4 films: Escobar, Paradise Lost, The Informer, and Last Night of Amore. Tell us something about the film that people can see now at Lincoln Center, Maestro, with Pierfrancesco Favino, a fantastic Pierfrancesco Favino.
The film is the story about this young kid who's 13 years old, and his father is convinced that he can be a tennis champion. And it's a middle-class family. They don't have too much money, but one summer he gets all the money that the family put away to go on holiday, and invest them in hiring a tennis coach. But the little money they have, we can hire only basically a kind of like a loser tennis coach who had like 5 minutes of glory during his past, and it's the road trip of these two characters that you discover through the film that they're not really made for victory, and. But what the tennis is just the arena because at the end of the film you understand that they're gonna win one match, which is much more important than sport. Is that both of them they're gonna go, they by this meeting they improve their life.
And there is a parallel between your film and the Kidnapping of Arabella, because it's the relationship between an adult and a little girl or a little boy that are not related by blood, and that they develop this sort of parental relationship that is outside of every possible scheme pre-existing. And the fact is that basically the kids choose who their parents can be. In your case, a mother, and in your case, a father figure that is not the ideal father figure. One question about the autobiographical element that has been underlined, and I love the story. Then the character of Raul Gatti, who is the character played by Favino. People went, and I did too, I have to confess, to check out whether he really exists. And then I found out that during one of the presentations that you had in Italy, Bertolucci and Panatta talked about Raul Gatti as if he really existed. So they really played along the story and sort of corroborating your fiction as part of reality. But tell us something about the autobiographical element of the film.
Well, yeah, it's the father portrayed in the film is my father. The kid, it was me. And this summer, when I was 13 years old, I was, my experience with tennis was an obsessive imposition of my father on me, like it happens often with tennis, where you have parents following their kids and wanting them to be champion. And this summer I met this guy who was like the worst tennis coach that you can find on the market. But he had something. He was a joker. He was a buffoon. He was
and very
nothing.
Charming, right? Very charming.
Very charming.
Very
very charming. And to me, that had this weight on the shoulders. The moment he really changed my life is that the only time I was able to win 2 matches, and the next day I knew I was going to lose, because we went and look at the player I was going to face the next day, and I was so sad, because I knew that I couldn't compete against this guy, and he told me, don't worry, because whatever happens tomorrow, we're always going to laugh. And I remember the next day going on the tennis court, and I was all of a sudden I was smiling. It's somehow like it's il maestro is the teacher, is the coach, and I think we all have the same experiences in life. Sometimes we meet somebody. It doesn't have to be a great person, but he tells us the right thing at the right moment, and somehow it helps us click something, and after that moment, it's an instant, our life changes, and that's really what the movie's about.
And the main lesson is like, we are not supposed to be all champions, and that is fine, right? And come to the realization that not being a champion is a fact of life, and
I think that especially young kids' generation, I see how they're confronted every day with social media, where everybody's a hero.
Pressure, yes.
Everybody has the perfect sunset. Everybody has the perfect party to take pictures, and I thought that, what about if I make a movie about 2 losers, and because I don't think that's important. It's really the process of how you do something that can form you and bring light into your life.
And the young kid, remind us his name.
Tiziano Menichelli.
It's a debut, I assume?
Yeah, well, he did a few things, but he's absolutely a huge talent.
He's very intense.
He's incredible. I mean, he did a couple of scenes that we were all shocked, because he was able to access his emotion in a way that not even experienced actors are able to do.
And Favino, of course, not a surprise, but great acting.
Yeah, I know, but he was also very smart, because great act. They always say, the great movie stars, they say, be careful when you act with a little kid or with an animal, because everybody never looks at you. They always look somewhere else. And but he was able to embrace the what this little boy was bringing on set, this innocence, this emotional availability, and it was fascinating what was going on. To me, it was fascinating to see what was going on in front of the camera.
Thank you. Andrea Di Stefano, il Maestro.
Next up, we have Il Quieto Vivere, or I Wonder Dead, great translation, by Gianluca Matarrese. Gianluca is a writer-director based in Paris, where he studied cinema and theater, I believe at the École de Théâtre Jacques Lecoq. His career began in French television, contributing to over 25 fiction and entertainment programs. Over the past 5 years, he has directed 10 films that have premiered at prestigious festivals around the world. Among these, I mentioned The Last Chapter, which won the Queer Lion at the 78th Venice Film Festival, and Gen, which centers on a hospital in Milan specializing in gender transition and fertility disorders, which premiered in the world competition at the 2025 Sundance Film Festival. Il Quieto Vivere, I Wonder Dead, is his latest effort, and it premiered last year in the Giornate degli Autori section of the 82nd Venice Film Festival. Please give a round of applause to Gianluca. Gianluca, same question as everyone. Could you please tell us a little bit about the story? And this, the film is about your family, so it's a very special case. How did you decide to make a film about it?
Il Quieto Vivere, hi. Il Quieto Vivere has nothing quieto, because it means the peaceful life, the quiet life. I don't know how to translate that. But I think we are all the result of our family's traumas, right? And every family has a crack, and this is a film about this huge crack. And there's it's actually a story of two women living in the same building. They are sisters in love, and they hate each other. And the hate is all real, because this is actually my real family. They are my cousins. It happens in the south of Italy, in Calabria. And there are three old ladies, the aunts of the family. One of them is my real mother. She was also the protagonist of my first film, 10 films ago, and she's now back working for me. And they are trying to bring peace in the family. And this is a really huge conflict going on for over 10 years. It's been very far. We went to, fighting cases at the cops, and there are knives involved in the story, and possibly a gun. And I'm not telling you until where we're going to get, because you're gonna discover that. But like other films here, it's a little bit also about true crime, right? We have one here. But this is maybe a film about the possibility of a true crime happening the day before the irreversible act that you will read on the news. So there's something relating to the topic of some of the films here. And that's pretty much everything to present it, yeah.
So cinema is crime prevention.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you will watch the film and I will explain you, because this is actually the first question everybody asks is like, how is it going now in the family? Yeah. But I think that this film helped in a way to not get to that crime. Because of the game of representation of cinema, it's actually a cathartic exercise, purifying. They actually purifying themselves, and so maybe this film saved a life, or maybe not. If it doesn't happen, I will be probably arrested for istigazione al crimine. I don't know how you say that. Instigation to crime, and all of you accomplice with me.
Well, we gotta think about it. I was struck by the film. Also, I'm particularly interested in documentary truth. So one thing that was that I found of interest was how you negotiated your position as the observer in this story. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how you try to stay neutral, if you try, and to what extent you feel that you were able to stay neutral. In other words, what's the role of the documentary filmmaker in shaping reality as represented?
That's a nice question. Yeah. Is it a documentary? Is it not? What is documentary? What is fiction? Is it maybe documentary doesn't exist, fiction neither? I don't know. I don't know about the answer, but the thing is, this is not. I didn't have the position of giving a judgment on this on the case. I really tried with the editor Jacopo Quadri. He's actually an editor who worked a lot in fiction and a lot of documentary. We try to give this linear story code of fiction And inside of this structure, which is very fictional, you recognize some elements that are really intense, authentic, because this is all true. So I think it's for me more of an exercise like we would do in reality shows. I call it like cine reality. So I brought the performers, because they are really real performers, to the point where they will be acting themselves and being in this safe space, in free space, to really get to the authenticity of the conflicts and the real passions. But you won't see in this film who's right, who's wrong. It's not about the truth. It's about, it looks real. It's true, but it's not about the truth.
Of course, that's a... The questions about fiction and documentary are always super complex, so thank you for answering that. I kind of related to it, there's the question of like the filmmaker versus the observed subject, and also but because this was your family, I was also wondering on a personal level, how because you have essentially two warring factions, and how did you try not to take a side in this conflict?
I have my own judgment, but I'm not telling you.
Of course.
But there was a fight also on the editing table, because if we will give too much space, the other one will be like a squeeze. So, and it's actually Eva contro Eva kind of mood. So we really, I won't tell you where am I in all of this, but it's true that actually there are two cousins. One is the blood cousins, the other one is not. So family always wins over, and there's one of the two that actually is the one who has no filter, who is either very evil, but it's very authentic, and it's a story of a solitude, actually, and it's the one I connected the most because of this element of affection and solitude that we see. The other one is more maybe manipulative in a way, but at the same time she's also a victim. So you actually go from one to the other side for the entire film, and that's what happens also for me in life, in reality. I've been hearing this story for 10 years. So we are like all very tired of listening to this. So we had to do something with it. So I actually lost track about who's true or who's lying on this story. We all lost track, and that's what happens in fights in a family. We forget why we're fighting. This is a very universal topic, I guess, and I guess many of you will relate to that. Especially, this happens during the Christmas time. So there's a lot of food. And of course, it's a big homage to our Italian cinema, and, Monicelli, Parenti Serpenti. So this is something that is very, let's say, I'm affectionate to, and I'm really happy to present it to you and enjoy the meal, maybe. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So last, I will introduce the next film, but because it's our last one, Stefano and I will both get to ask a question. So next up we have Elisa, and we have here the lead actress, Barbara Ronchi. Barbara Ronchi is a film and stage actress who has appeared in many director. Oh yes. And if you want me to say it again in Italian, I can, or I will translate.
Ok. Sì, sì, no. Ok, va bene. Ciao a tutti. Elisa è la storia, è la storia vera di una donna che ha ucciso e bruciato sua sorella.
Elisa is the true story of a woman who killed and burned her own sister.
Che dopo 15 anni di prigionia ancora non ricorda.
That after 15 years in prison she still doesn't remember.
E inizia un percorso di una specie di terapia con un criminologo.
And she begins a sort of path to recovery with the criminologist, of therapy with the criminologist.
Per cercare di ricordare.
In order to try to remember what happened.
Perfect. And how did the collaboration with Leonardo di Costanzo come about, and what attracted you to this character in particular? Cosa ti attraeva di questo
personaggio? Per me è
personaggio?
stato molto interessante, al di là del personaggio, è stato molto interessante scoprire che cosa fa la criminologia oggi, che cosa può fare, perché era qualcosa che io non conoscevo.
So beyond the attraction for the character, this is fascinating. She was happy to discover what criminology really does today, a thing with which she was not familiar.
Perché siamo abituati a vedere i criminologi nei talk televisivi a parlare di questioni di cronaca nera. Messo un crimine del genere non lo è.
There is a whole branch of criminology that actually is interested in having one-on-one meetings with detainees in prisons in order to make them accept their responsibility for the crime they committed. So they come into terms with their own actions. And
Ci sono dei casi, specie negli omicidi più violenti, dove le persone, anche messe davanti al video di qualcosa che hanno fatto, dicono non sono stato io.
But there are cases in which, especially the most violent crimes, in which the perpetrator is confronted with the video that actually portrays the action while it was taking place, and the perpetrator says, I don't recognize myself, that's not me.
Ed è un percorso molto complesso che può portare alla giustizia riparativa, che è quello, una volta accettata la colpa, una volta usciti di prigione, poter cercare di riparare a quello che è stato fatto.
And that's the only way in which you can achieve a certain kind of reparatory justice, that once you have expiated your crime in time served in prison, and you actually are able to go out, you can come to terms with your own life and move on.
Nel caso di Elisa non può riparare alla morte della sorella, quindi è destinata a un inferno perpetuo, ma quello che mi ha colpito di più è in qualche modo che il dolore è eterno nel momento in cui capisci che quella persona sei tu e non è una persona fuori da te.
In the case of Elisa, of course, she cannot provide any kind of restoration to the fact that she killed her sister. She's gone forever. But what you discover in this experience is that that person could be you.
Okay, I have one question that will follow, and then you can finish it.
I was very interested in the fact that the representation of the space in which she's detained is very idyllic. I mean, it looks like a 4-star hotel in the mountains. And
Not really.
It's really, but you're able really to show without, in a very contrite, in a very contained way, the hell that she's living inside. So that was the challenge. Because she seemed, from the outside, you look at it and say, wow, they live in a 4-star resort with sort of freedom of moving, going out, having little jobs, and at the same time you're able to convey this horror that she's still living and that never leaves her. How was that challenge of presenting a character that lives in hell, even if the appearance is that, after all, it's a lovely place.
Questa è una domanda che avviene spesso. Io quasi non mi sono resa conto che questo posto era così bello, come tutti gli altri mi fanno vedere. E continuo?
Sì.
Vado avanti.
She didn't realize that she didn't even realize that the place in which the story was shot is so beautiful, as other people that see it for the first time realize.
So che può sembrare incredibile, forse specie in America, ma ci sono delle carceri che hanno l'università dentro e ci si può laureare. Noi abbiamo delle carceri in Italia così, e Elisa si è laureata nel carcere di Bollate in giurisprudenza.
And I know that it might sound incredible, especially in the States, but in Italy and in other parts of Europe, there are prisons that actually have universities inside, and detainees can pursue a degree and graduate. And actually, Elisa, while in the prison of Bollate, was able to get a degree in jurisprudence. She became a JD.
E rispetto al fatto che fosse in un bosco questo centro riabilitativo, questa prigione, in realtà ci sono anche degli esempi del genere, specie in Nord Europa, ma anche vicino Roma, dove i detenuti si occupano di tenere il bosco di Bracciano in ordine, quindi in realtà può accadere. Però la cosa che mi ha colpito, diciamo che quello era un carcere che auspicheremmo, no? Perché la questione è che un detenuto non può entrare in carcere e uscire come è entrato. Questa è la questione. Questo è il motivo importante per cui questo film è stato fatto, perché questa terapia, che è stata fatta davvero da Elisa e che è volontaria, quindi lo devono decidere i detenuti, è qualcosa che serve a noi come società, perché devono tornare diversi e noi come società dobbiamo permettere che questo accada, se no abbiamo fallito come società.
And also the environment, yes. The environment, the idyllic environment of the woods. There are indeed prisons in Italy and other parts of Europe, especially in Northern Europe. There are in these contexts, in the woods, in contact with nature, and inmates are able to work for the preservation of this natural environment. But the most important thing is to present the possibility for detainees that accept to undergo this path, because it's a free choice. They're not obliged to start this series of meetings, of therapy with criminologists, because that's the only way in which they can somehow redeem themselves, so that this coming to terms to what they have done, and that's the only way they have to change. And as society, we have all the interest that people don't get out of jail as they were when they got inside the jail. So it's the only possibility of a change, of an improvement, if we allow them to become a different person after they have embraced the responsibility of what they have done. Thank you very much, Barbara.
Grazie.
And we have time now for a few questions. So I know probably not many of you have seen the movies, but even if you, from what you heard from the descriptions, any element that caught your attention or your interest, feel free.
I have a question for Barbara Ronchi. I was so taken by your description of the film that you made, Elisa, and I wondered if you had a chance ever, this is just a curiosity, to see Spellbound, the film with Ingrid Bergman and Gregory Peck, because that was so many years ago, and of course your film is based on a true story, but I have found some similarities.
Sì, io l'ho visto, ma forse l'ha visto Leonardo di Costanzo soprattutto. Ah, grazie, l'ho visto, ma non grazie Sally, grazie, ma è un amico, ci conosciamo.
Yes, Kenneth.
Thank you very much for all of these comments, both from the clips and from your descriptions. These are very human stories. So this is a very more broad question. How do you, as artists, as creators, feel about the coming of AI, particularly to films? At the Tribeca Festival, there will be a film that is AI created. So I wonder how you, as a writer myself, I wonder how you all think about this threat or possibility of AI in the film. Thank you.
Have a lawyer. It's maybe useful if you don't know well English and you want to write a letter in English. I love it. So it's in our lives. We cannot change it. Creatively, maybe we can have like CGI effects for cheap, like so a guy who's got no money can make something about flying on the moon. Good. If it's something that can expand your creativity and be democratic about even about how much does some tools cost until today. For me, it's fun, but creatively, there's nothing because it's made on records, on statistics. That's not nothing that is living in there.
Anybody else wants to add something?
Yeah, no, I just to add something, like I think it's, I don't know, I personally, but I think we all love rules and regulamentations for powerful people. So I think regulamentation and rules for powerful tools are very useful. So I think also like maybe now it's at the beginning of it, so we're still like, me myself, I wouldn't know what to answer very well. So the only thing that comes to my mind is like, I think it's the beginning of something that is very powerful, and rules and regulamentations could be something that gives us power over it. Yeah, and that's it. Basta.
Any other? Or should we continue?
I just like to, I don't know if everybody knows, but AI is trained by humans. There are click workers all around the world, and if there are not humans behind AI, there won't be any AI. So even for creativity, as he was saying, there must be a human behind. Maybe we can embrace the change as we did for the technology of cinema when the sound arrived, or any other technology. But we can use it for expanding creativity. But for now, it's hard that will replace humans. But humans are behind it, and it will be like that for a long time.
Other questions? Otherwise, I have a question for Gianluca. In your film, that is about this feud internal to a family, and it's more than reality because it's the reality of your own family that you represent. But there is also the element of Greek tragedy. Being in Calabria, it makes total sense, and you embrace it, and you bring it on the stage, and there is a chorus, and there are the wise women that are sort of represent the wisdom of. So, how did you intersect Greek hyper realism of your film?
Actually, this was the first idea since the beginning, because I've been recording my cousin for years, but like with hidden recorders, and I've transcribed all the stories for over years, and I found a pattern.
Yeah. We want to say goodbye to Andrea De Sica that is running to Lincoln Center for the screening of his film. Grazie Andrea, in bocca al lupo, a presto.
And I found a pattern. Actually, it's the same. She uses the same words, same poses, same images. It's actually a theatrical archive. And I said, oh, I don't want to make a film about how to translate this in images, all those these facts, but I want to really make a film about this power of the words in suggesting images. This is what happens in tragedy. You never see in Greek tragedy the killing on stage. It always happens out of the stage, and there's a messenger or a character coming on stage telling about it. So this is the first element of tragedy. So I said, I want to make a film about this quality of the word. And then especially in the storyline, tragedy is very often, it doesn't happen much. In this story, it doesn't happen much. It's a vertical narrative. It's an emotional narrative. It's not a horizontal narrative. There's nothing happening. And this is typical of tragedy as well. So there are many elements. The chorus happened by itself. The ants, and my mother is the corifeo, I don't know how you say that, and she's the leader chorus. And this is actually what happened. And then I just had to push a little bit more and stage them. And I brought all of them. I won't spoil anything, but in a real Greek ancient theater. It's at the beginning, but it was actually I shot it at the end because I needed to have the tension coming up. And yes, the tragedy. And there's also the element of the music, which we have the composer here, Cantautoma. He will be also. And the music actually is a commentary, as we have in the Greek tragedy, of what the heroes are living and going through. And so many elements coming from the material, the live material, and also I pushed a little bit more because it's what it's in the culture of the south of Italy, of Calabria. We were Greece, actually.
Other questions or curiosities or comments?
What happens to the lambs after they shear them?
What happens to the lamb? Cosa succede agli agnellini? No.
I really don't know.
No, Rosina, what we know is that up until the point when they how do you say, they take off their wool? They shear them, and then you see the nun that work the wool and make them into the threads, and then they prepare these stalls. Then the lambs, I believe, are returned to the lamb.
What I saw them going out the monastery, but I didn't follow them.
So I don't know whether we want to know.
No, to be serious,
but
I think it's not so important for the story.
They don't stay with the nuns.
No.
After they are used for the wool, they are returned to where they came from.
Yes, exactly. With all the lambs that were blessed the year before.
And there is basically one nun, right, in charge of taking care of
Yes, every time it's one nun until she can do these things, and after there will be another nun doing this job.
And the current nun is like 79, 80?
Exactly, 79.
And the other nuns do other jobs within the monastery?
Yes, it's Benedictine nuns, then they're like praying 7 times a day, and they're doing other activities during the day. And no, it was really an incredible experience to be there. Even if we are not talking about the documentary, but I get the chance to be in that place, in that historical time. It was really impressive.
And did it really also change your perspective of time? Because once you're in there, time seems to go on a different speed.
Yes, when you're in that place, yes. But let's go out 5 minutes in Trastevere, and then you come back to the real or not real, I don't know, life.
I don't know whether you saw the film by this French director called Le Grand Silence. He shot in the last charter house where they still live according to the strictest rule of the Carthusians.
Yeah.
And
it was a for sure a reference for the movie.
But for him it took him like 2 years to get an answer to the first letter he wrote, because they take their time.
I had a better production.
Like for several months they wait, and they say, we might consider your request. So in your case, it was much faster, right?
Yes, I had a better production probably.
And you're dealing with women rather than with men. That's another point. They were nuns, not monks. Any other question? Yes, Sally.
I just figured very quickly, maybe each person could tell us what they're working on next. I'd be interested in knowing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Cominciamo da Barbara.
A series with Pierfrancesco Favino. Ecco. Called Nemesi.
I'm working on a story in the past, in the Renaissance in France. It's the story of the first buffoon woman who was executed because of what she says. And it's in the costume d'époque. So François Ier, Catherine de Médicis. Voilà.
Completely.
It's a different story, but still women involved. It's a really, let's say, relevant story today about what we can say, what we cannot say, and censorship, banishment. So it's. I wanted to talk about these topics today, but through a real story in the past.
And comedians speaking truth to power. It's very familiar.
Yeah, especially I know. Yeah, and we have very good actors. I won't tell you the names, but they actually went through this real story in their own lives. There's the main actress. She's been censored because of what she said in France.
It's already in production. Are you ready to shoot?
Yeah, we started workshops with the actors. We are writing the script, and we are signing with distributors. So we are going well so far. French, Italian, Switzerland.
I have a script that I'm trying to finance, and it's a movie set in the States. Expensive, so. And so we're in that phase where there's a lot of phone calls, a lot of dancing, and trying to make people like what you say and what you're telling. And I'm writing scripts for other directors, which is a lovely place to be, without having the stress of putting it in front of a camera.
Thank you.
I'm doing nothing.
More or less the same, I guess. No, there is a film coming out that I co-wrote with the same director of Fremont, and it's coming out. I mean, I don't know when, but he's editing now. And then I'm writing. I'm at that point of writing in which you don't know if it's going to be a film or a disappointment. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Well, I work in a production company, so basically the next film coming up is at the editing stages, and it's also based on a true story that happened, a true crime story that happened in Rome 10 years ago. So I was thinking about the majority of the selected films here come from true stories or are documentaries. So that kind of clashes with the AI bubble that we're kind of confronted with. So I think that the audience and the programmers and the public really needs to go back to reality and to truth, and I think that's the answer that the audience chooses really what they want to see, and the fact that we're all based on true stories, most of us, answers your question, really.
I'm writing. I hope to do come back to fiction feature film. It will be not a true story. Or maybe my story, I don't know, but it's like the first phase. Then I wanna see what's going to happen.
So we're definitely returning to feature films, not
normally, yes.
Yes.
I have a question for Benedetta. Yes. Posso farlo in italiano? Se...
Sì.
Ok. Siccome studio recitazione ho una domanda, cioè, come hai approcciato l'entrare in questo personaggio che ha una storia con un peso emotivo così forte, e immagino anche molto distante dalla tua e anche disturbante da un certo punto di vista, insomma deve essere stato difficile, quindi mi domando qual è stato il processo, se hai anche conosciuto, siccome è una storia vera, insomma le persone coinvolte, ecco.
The question is about how she approached such a difficult character, such a complex character, and whether she had by any chance the possibility also to meet with the true protagonist of the film, since it comes from a true story.
Allora, è un personaggio realmente esistito, ma io non l'ho incontrata prima di girare le riprese, sia perché lei è ancora in semilibertà, quindi insomma non è ancora libera del tutto, e quindi il giudice non voleva ci incontrassimo. Il giudice non voleva neanche che facessimo il film per lei, per la sua sanità mentale, in un certo senso. Ma io non volevo incontrarla, cioè non mi serviva. Mi bastava quello che ho letto in questo libro che ha scritto il criminologo sui loro incontri, per creare un'altra persona. Lei si chiama con un altro nome, questa si chiama Elisa, però arrivo fino a qua.
That she did not meet with this person, and it was partly her choice, but it was also partly the decision of the judge, since the person that is the real protagonist in real life of this is in a sort of house arrest, so she's still serving time even if she's not in a prison, and so her actions are limited by what the judge decides, and the judge definitely decided that she should not be interviewed for the film, for her own mental health and for her own well-being. And actually the judge also was not in agreement that the film was made, but of course he could not rule about that. He could rule about what this person could do or not do. But she said that she was satisfied enough with reading the account of the criminologist and the encounters that he had with her, and to getting to know her from this point of view, also because Elisa has a different name and is a different person from what the person that committed the crime in real life is. And the fact that they changed the name also means that it's a story that is based on that, but it's a different story and it's a different person.
Però tu sei attrice? Sì. Ok. Io ho pensato se fosse successo a me, ho pensato se l'avessi fatto io, perché non ho niente in comune con lei se non l'età e i sentimenti che lei provava, l'invidia, la gelosia, eccetera, eccetera. Però ho pensato, dato per fatto il crimine, che cosa rimane di una persona che non ricorda ma lo sa che l'ha fatto? Con cosa vivi? E visto che lei per quei 10 anni non ha mai voluto parlarne, ho pensato che ci fosse dentro un dolore, una vergogna, ma neanche rimozione, proprio ho pensato che ci fosse tanta vergogna e tanto dolore. E da quello sono partita con l'idea di non mostrarlo, però, come dire, un fantasma che cammina. Una persona che se potesse avere il coraggio di parlare, infatti come vedrete, lei a un certo punto ricorda. E vabbè, non vi posso dire, però è straziante il fatto quando mostra quello che... Poi dopo l'ho conosciuta. Mo ti dico una cosa.
So she tried to think about if she were that person, exactly because they have nothing in common except for the age, the same age more or less. But what she lived with for all her life, having this inside her, of not admitting, not remembering, but then at a certain point these memories resurface, and you see that that's a heartbreaking moment. It's wrenching her life and her psyche when these phenomena start reappearing to her mind. And it's an issue of shame, shame, embarrassment, and that's very difficult to coexist with it. Yes, back there.
I was wondering, considering you in this way now having an international audience,
if you can wait just a minute, so we have the microphone, since we are recording, so we have everything. Thank you.
Is it work? Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Considering your current projects are having like an international renaissance, which giving you the opportunity for an international audience to see a movie. I was wondering, what is your expectations when your movie come out in sala in Italy, and also Italian press is very specific, sometimes very critical, close-minded sometimes. I'm Italian, so. And then when you see maybe your movie or your project having some sort of like audience and press in Italy, and then have a completely different press and response in France or in the US and UK, or in a completely different side of the country in Japan, which happens to other Italian projects. So I was wondering, like, what do you think it's your expectations right now with your project, or in terms of like in general about when you're shooting a movie and the next project in general? Yeah.
Well, we are the country that all our great directors were made by either festivals outside of Italy or critics outside of Italy. La Dolce Vita di Fellini would have been sacked in Italy, and thanks to Simenon in competition in Cannes, got the prize. L'Avventura di Antonioni got the worst critic and people booing, and then got celebrated after that. And De Sica is gone, but it's, you know, the famous sentence, we wash our dirty clothes in private, was said about De Sica movies, Bicycle Thief and Ph.D. So that's what we are. It's part of the Italian dance, which is always fascinating. But at the same time, I think that what I love about my country is that there is some kind of electricity, and people are wired in a very unique way. Both I love working with Italian actors, and I love speaking with my colleagues, because, you know, they're all prototypes. There's no industry, so each movie that comes out is really specific. And I think that that's what when we go outside of Italy, we are recognized for, and I think that's the quality of it.
Anybody want to add?
What's also really interesting about that is, thank you for saying that about all the filmmakers. I was shocked when I learned that Rome, Città Aperta, Rome, Open City, the film that Rossellini shot, got terrible reviews in Italy, closed, and then it came and opened in New York thanks to a gentleman by the name of Dan Talbot, who saw it in Cannes and brought it here to New York, and it got great reviews in the New York Times and elsewhere, and then went back to Italy and was a huge success. I mean, I don't know huge success, how things run, but it's incredible.
One could also argue that it's a sign of great provincialism, right? That it's something that happens in your backyard, you don't consider it too much, and then when it gets acclaim, and you're perfectly right, the case of Open City is very emblematic. In Italy, and you can say that in the case of Open City, for Italians, they just got out of World War II, the destruction was in the streets, and so going to the movies and seeing it again, it's not exactly what they were looking for in the moment, but in the moment in which it comes to New York, it gave sense, it gave meaning to what happened in World War II and to the commitment of the Americans in the liberation of Europe. It explains why they were there. So on the wave of that reconsideration in the United States, Italy too sort of reconsidered Open City. So there is hope for redemption for the Italians, that they can be redeemed from their own provincialism. If we don't have any other question, I think we just have to invite you again to go to Lincoln Center, book the ticket if you still find them, and keep in mind our friends that were here today, because I think we're going to hear about them again very soon. So help me thank Barbara Ronchi, the absolute protagonist of Elisa, Gianluca Matarrese, the director of Quieto, Vivere, I Want Her Dead, Andrea Di Stefano, the director of Il Maestro, Nicolangelo Gerolmini con La Gioia, Andrea has already left, Carolina Cavalli with Il Rapimento di Arabella, and Massimiliano Camaiti and Giovanna Nicolai with Agnus Dei. Thank you.